We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. I know people are going to be excited about this particular show because with us is Old Soul. A lot of people have been concerned about her. We haven't seen her much in the last couple of weeks, and that's because she's been working her ass off for the election that happened. And of course, we're all disappointed by what's going on or what happened with the election. And Old Soul's in kind of a different mood today than we're normally used to. Normally, she's compassionate and friendly, maybe even a little weepy because she's sad. Now, the Old Soul today is just fucking pissed off. So get ready. We've gone through one of these before. I'll just flip the switch. Tell us what's up.
Yeah, it's crazy because I'm not in control of my emotions, and it's weird for me to be like not in control of them. So I guess that would be the heads up. But I did have to give everybody an update on the wild child. Um, this is so jacked up, but like her plans was to go to the military, and then Trump won, and there's like no way that any of us will let her go into a military under that man.
I understand.
Um, she yeah, she wanted to travel and go to school. My brother, he's like retired vet, but he has some battle buddies, and his ex-wife was in Germany, and it was like, hey, if she wants to travel and go to school, we could get her in like a study abroad and get her there. So we did everything we had to do. I'm waiting on her passport. Hopefully, she could stay here until she graduates, but if it just looks bad, I'm gonna like make her go early.
Yeah.
Um, I mean that just is what it is. And I feel bad about that because I don't know the reason that her mom left her here. I don't know. I don't know if she left her here because she was like a handful and she just couldn't deal with her. I don't know if she left her here because she realized her home life isn't stable and she was trying to do what's best for her. I don't know if she left her here because of the church that they went to and her abuser is in that church. But it doesn't matter regardless. She left her here with me. And when she's struggling like this and she needs to be here, it's hard to know she's gonna be in another country. So, that just kind of sucks. And she's down about it, like we're all down about it, but we try to be like happy when we talk to her and we're around her. I think it's a good opportunity. I just, wasn't
No, I
expecting that.
no, I get that. You did a lot of work leading up to the election, and we haven't talked to you since the election ended, and even really close up to it. What was going on the last couple of weeks toward the election with you? I know you were running around doing a lot of stuff, canvassing and all that. Maybe just bring us up to date with what you were up to.
Yeah, we were excited. Wherever I went, like it's about, hey, we need you here, we need you there. You know, that's where I went. We knocked on doors. I think it was like over 1 million doors, like collectively that
Wow.
the Harris campaign knocked on. I like met some really, really cool people. One of the things that we did was we had safe addresses. So a lot of the women who wanted to vote, they couldn't vote the way that they wanted to around their boyfriends, husbands, or family. And so we would have like safe houses. It was like, hey, put your mailing address to this here, and then you put your physical address that's on your license on your mail-in ballot. They won't
Right.
flag it if you do it like that. And then that way you can just, go to, a safe house and pick up your mail-in ballots. If you want to like fill it out and then close it up and then have us drop it off at the post office, we could do that. The wild child a couple of times, she was like, yeah, I can go drop this ballot off. And one time she was meeting a woman at like the park, and her uncle in Arizona went with her. And he called me and he was like, hey, you need to talk to her. And I was like, what do you mean talk to her? He was like, she tripping. And so I was like, okay, put her on the phone. So I asked her what's going on. And she was like, she want to take her ballot. And I'm like, okay, what's the problem? She was like, no, she don't want to vote for Kamala because she can't do this behind her husband back, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, we can't tell her how to vote.
Right.
Give her ballot. If that's what she wants to do, give her ballot. And I was going back and forth with her for a minute. And then I'm like, look, we cannot make somebody vote for the person we want her to vote for. Give her ballot and she cool. And I guess she like got out the car because, I was in the car with my mother and my brother, and I'm like talking to her on Bluetooth, and we could hear her in the background. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if she like came to the car door or whatever, but she was like, "And you owe me money for gas." And then her uncle's like, "Get in the car." It's like she was ready to fight this woman. And she was like, "No, she just didn't want her to vote for Trump." Um, but other than that, she did good. She'll pick up a ballot, drop it off, whatever. A couple of times, like somebody, kids getting out of school, she'll meet them at the school, hand them their ballot, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was a couple of times when women was like, "Yeah, I don't know if I could, go behind so and so's back and vote for Kamala." And when stuff like that would happen, she would just get heated. It's like,
Well, I think the good news is that here's a young lady that had her problems, behavior problems, and of course her reproductive situation.
yeah,
She's come a long way. If nothing else, she may be a little excessive in some of her beliefs, but at least she believes in something now, right? At least she's
yeah,
compassionate and cares, and that's a long way from where she started out from, and that can be attributed to you.
yeah. It's hard for her because she knows, what other girls are going to go through in these states. And like she works so hard because she doesn't want them to go through that.
Right.
And she is just kind of like down, depressed about it. And for me, it's hard to watch her, try to grapple with that and deal with that. On top of that, when you look online, the number one threat that MAGA makes against women and girls is rape. That's like their number one threat. I like you got control over your own body. I know you've seen that clip of Andrew Tate when the girl was like, I just asked that my president not be, a rapist. And then he kind of like screams into the phone, request denied. We all know what Nick Fuentes is saying, Matt Walsh, like all of them. It's like the number one thing that they threaten girls with is that. And they make it clear that it's a great replacement theory and not enough white women is having babies, but too many brown people are. So they're telling these like white girls that, you're going to have a white baby whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
And when they started doing like that, talking like that, and I can see that the systems that's supposed to protect them are just letting them say this stuff online, out in the open. Good luck having them kicked off of, Elon Musk's platform and all that stuff. So with stuff like that going on, her mental health taking a hit, seeing it day after day after day, it's so sad, but you can't stay in America.
Well,
Like you need to leave and get this crap fixed up.
Nick
However long that takes.
Nick Fuentes fucked around and found out though because his address and phone number, a picture of house, he was completely doxxed, and I'm sure he's getting inundated with hate. This is something he would do to somebody else, so I don't feel bad for him in the least. I want to talk about that whole effect in a little bit, but leading up to the election, I said all along, there's no way Kamala doesn't win. All the facts pointed toward her winning. And then when she didn't win, I felt bad. And then I talked to some of these other people and they said, we said the same thing. It was logic. All the things were in play. There's no way she should have won. As you sat there and watched what was going on November 5th, that had to be incredibly hard for you, given how much you put into this.
It was like a gut punch at first. Um, and then so like we're watching it and we see what happened. And when the numbers came in, that was one thing. But then when we start seeing the exit polls and we realized what happened, it was like it was worse. So
Right.
we would have these Zoom calls and these Zoom meetings. And if my mood goes from one to the other, I cannot control it. Zoom calls, meetings with white women. And I don't want to like generalize like everybody, but in America for us, if a Black woman is like on welfare with kids and living off the system, they look at all of us like that. So
Right.
even though I know not all white women did this, it's kind of like they all are getting that label. And we would go to their states, like take off work, miss some money out of our pockets. A lot of us is getting like points at work on the verge of getting fired. um, Canvassing, knocking on doors, getting ballots on, signatures on the ballot so they get the referendum on their ballots. And then we was like running all around because at one point, Ben Crump, and I don't know if, they know who it is, but he's a civil rights
Right.
activist and attorney. He was caught up in Texas with Greg Abbott because he didn't want Latinos to vote. And then you have in Georgia, Mark Elias and the ACLU is out there. But then at the same time, Ron DeSantis is in Florida showing his butt. So he's like, okay, well, we got to go down there to Florida and hold it down until they can get here. I
Right.
mean, like we're doing stuff like that. And all the time we're talking to them and we're just like, okay, the one thing they had to do was vote for Kamala Harris.
Right.
And we seen the numbers come through, but we didn't know what happened. But then when we saw the breakdown of it, we realized that the white women, they took the ballot initiatives that we helped them get on the ballot and they voted for that so that they could have their rights in their state.
Right.
But when it came to voting for Kamala Harris, they voted for Trump. So it's kind of like the biggest FU to Black women I've ever seen in my life. And then we turn around now because, okay, yeah, so Project 2025 is real. Trump did know about it. Oops, shame on y'all for falling for it. Nick Fuentes is all online calling them a bunch of stupid bitches. Like, I can't believe y'all fell for this. Y'all stupid. And you have other people in the right wing is like, why y'all just didn't roll with the Black women? They already knew what's up. Like, seriously, like taunting them for the decision that they made.
I got to bring this
And
up.
then they getting all these race threats and all of this other stuff going on. And they're telling women that, yeah, okay, so go ahead.
No, I got to bring this up because before Joe Biden stepped aside, okay, I posed the possibility of Kamala being the candidate taking over for Joe Biden. When you and I talked about that on this show, you said, no way this country is going to vote for a Black woman. And I disagreed. I didn't think it was as big a deal as you did. And of course, we got all the enthusiasm and all the support and all the money and stuff. And I said, old soul, see, you could have thought better about the country because it looks like she's going to win. But in the end, she doesn't win. Well, why did you feel Kamala, as a Black woman, Black South Asian woman, would not win? What is it from your perspective as a Black woman that saw that before some big dumb white guy like me could see it?
Because she's Black. Like, I know that like there's some people that's looking for a reason or a purpose. The reason and the purpose is she Black. That's it. That's all.
Do you think being a woman has anything to do with that?
I think if it was Gretchen Whitmore, they would have had no problem voting for her.
Okay, fair enough.
But it's not Gretchen Whitmore, Kamala Harris. And we don't say certain things outside our group, but when we talk to each other and we like, this is just not going to happen. One of the things that we told ourselves is she's an acceptable shade of Black.
Right.
So if she was like, dark skinned, like a Jasmine Crockett or, something like that, there's no way in hell we would have went along with that. But we was like, okay, her complexion isn't dark enough to make them feel uncomfortable.
Which is absolutely ridiculous. Which is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm not saying you're ridiculous, but that's what society's about. And that's fucking bullshit.
I mean, that's what they did with Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, true.
Like, there's just no way we gonna do that. She a little too dark, uncomfortable. She got a gap in her teeth, whatever. Forget her skills, forget her qualifications, forget all of that stuff. People are just not going to be comfortable enough to do that. So we kept telling ourselves, if we work hard, we can make this happen. And
let me ask you this. When you say a Black woman of a certain Blackness is not acceptable, I know you're talking about white people, but are you talking about people of color too, as far as what they will accept?
Not so much as women. I mean, there are some women, but for the most part, Black men is kind of like not all of them, but some of them is kind of like the darker you are, the less desirable you are.
Gotcha.
And so if you like, certain women, it's like, what's wrong with her? And then you just know that's what it is. So we always say, you ain't got the complexion for protection. So kind of like the darker you are, the more vulnerable you are with Black men and the rest of society. So it's best for you to just hang with Black women because we don't ones that don't really care about that. And I mean that's just what it is. So
Have you,
anyway, they
have
started
you,
getting these threats, and
right.
they go ahead.
No, no, I was going to talk about the threats because we heard about these text messages going out to uh, African American folks, and they're egregious regarding racism and basically sexual attacks. And we were talking about it, and then you came back and told me that your brother got one and your daughter got one. Is that true?
Yeah, yeah. My brother got one, my daughter got one. Um, my little niece, she had just got her first cell phone, and he ended up taking it away. And he was just like, "Oh, Daddy's got to do some stuff on it. It's gonna take like a week or whatever, and I'll give it back to you." She didn't like it, but he just wanted to make sure that she wasn't gonna be one of the children that got
Yeah.
it because it's not they were just sending it to adults, they were sending it to children too.
Hmm.
So, they would be at school and those are the text messages they would get. Elementary school, junior high school, college, they don't care.
How did your brother and daughter react to it? I mean, your daughter's kind of a badass. She'd probably be ready to kick somebody's ass, but it probably wasn't a human behind it. It was probably a bot just trying to create this thing. But how did they react to that whole situation, getting that?
My brother's like the most calm person I know. Like the house could be on fire and he would just be like, okay, let's not panic, let's leave. That's the type of person he was, my daughter was. But I mean, you get angry, but it's just kind of like, certain stuff you get used to. I mean,
Yeah.
you can be mad about it and point out to how foul that is, but you just kind of get used to stuff like that. You get pulled over for no reason and stuff like that. It's a part of life. I don't know how to say it because it's crazy. When I talk to the wild child, she's like, that don't bother you, this don't bother you. Like she noticed little things and it's just kind of like, okay, you just pointed out to me 5 things that happened, and the only thing we did was go to Walmart in the mall. Like, and just imagine if I popped off at every time something like that happened, or if your uncle popped off at every time that something like that happened. Like, you still got to live your life. It just
Right.
is what it is. And that's just kind of one of them things. Like, yeah, it was foul, it was messed up. We did what we had to do. We had to, it was like a number that they told us to call. Then we had to go down, file a police report. I'm pretty sure it's just a waste of time because, unless they get to the bottom of it by January 20th, I think that's going to be at the top of Trump's priority list.
Yeah, I don't know that
No,
they'll
that ain't
get
gonna
to the
happen.
bottom of it. They won't do anything. I'm not going to make the comparison here because what happened to your daughter and brother is far more egregious. But um, I usually have pretty good luck with Trump fucks. Occasionally they will come in and they will say some shit and then I block them and I don't really worry about what they say. But I actually
Yeah.
had to laugh because on Instagram, somebody, a bot, because they had zero followers, zero videos, they were following nobody. It was a bot. But they come on and they post on my um, one of my videos. And what they do is they post a name and address and birth date and all that stuff, trying to be intimidating to me.
Yeah.
But funny fucking thing is, they got my first name right. They got the city I live in right. Last name wrong, birth date wrong. Everything about it was wrong other than those two things. And people said to me, "Aren't you upset about that?" I go, "Fuck no, man. I guarantee, I mean, you know what my name is, and I don't really give a shit if anybody knows my last name. But as good a researcher as you are, anybody could find my name, phone number, on the internet because prior to doing this, I was in business. So I put my phone number all over the place. I'm not hard to find. And if you do find me, what are you going to do? I don't have a boss. I don't go to school. I don't belong to organizations. My family knows better than to tell me to shut up. So fucking bring it, you stupid motherfuckers. Because because if you walk up to me, I'm not going to be afraid of you. I'm going to probably spit in your fucking eye and kick you in the nuts if I'm in a good mood. Um, But it troubles me more about what's happening to your daughter and your brother. I mean, it's just an out and out strategy to try to terrorize people, and that's who the Republicans are. I
Yeah.
don't know if you've heard these stories. We heard that Donald Trump has talked to Vladimir Putin. Now everybody's denying it. Interesting thing is, I want to get your take on this because you read these things better than I do, and I think I've read it already. Vladimir Putin posted pictures of Melania Trump nude. Now they aren't hard to find. You can Google that shit. It's not like it's secret, but not that I have. But I hear you can. But he had that posted in Russia when he won.
Yeah.
They were laughing about it. You know, the United States was fooled again. And then recently, Putin's trying to start some shit because he said something that was posted was that we kind of helped Donald Trump through certain ways to win the election. And now he owes us some things. That's not how it was said. It was said differently. And we know that's probably true. The question is, why would Vladimir Putin do that? Why would he try to rile Donald Trump up? What's your take on it?
Donald Trump is a bitch.
Well, that's that. I think he's just
Yeah,
trying to put him in line. He's saying this shit's going to happen, other shit's going to happen. You better not fuck around. And the thing about it is, Donald Trump has kind of pushed back with Vladimir Putin. We could be in a weird situation where Donnie and Vladimir Putin don't end up getting along because that tends to be the history with Donald Trump. Anybody close to him ends up being a criminal or fucking cast off. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does with Vladimir Putin.
I don't think that Trump, he's like one of those people who can't admit that he made a mistake
No,
or a bad judgment call or whatever. He's just not going to do that. Unfortunately, it leaves us vulnerable, like all of us. And it's crazy that people don't take it as seriously as what I'm taking it as, because even today, Don Jr. was posting um, messages to Zelensky, and it said like time for your allowance to you're going to stop getting your allowance or something like that. So basically, we're not giving you any more money. And what people don't understand how dangerous this is because Trump wants us to be isolationists. Like he just wants us here by ourselves. So if he
yeah,
pulls us out of NATO and something pop off, who are we going to call? We can't call anybody because you pulled us out of NATO. Not only did you pull us out of NATO, but you disrespected them and said F you before we left.
right.
And so now we're sitting here by ourselves. We just see China send 10,000 soldiers to Russia so that they can hold down the fort just long enough for Trump to get into office, right?
Yeah,
And then they already know, like, Trump's we're not giving him no more money. Like Don Jr. just said, we cutting off your allowance, all that other kind of crap. And then in the meantime, you have Putin just like punking him on national television. Like, and what? What you gonna do about it?
yeah,
And so when he does that, I don't know if people pay attention, but when Putin starts doing that, there's like a picture that's going around in Russia right now of Putin like walking a dog, but it's Donald Trump. It's not a dog, it's Trump. Like Putin is walking him. And he's doing all of this stuff. And instead of, Trump normally like lashes out, he talks trash, he tries to bully people, whatever. And he started attacking Gavin Newsom, all of these like other people. And it's just kind of like Newsom is just basically saying, like, hey, I'm going to protect my state. This
right.
crap that y'all trying to do, I'm going to just like lay back and let y'all do that. And it's not just Newsom, it's like a couple of other governors too.
Oh yeah, a lot
And
of
so
go.
he just starts lashing out at them, and he's like tripping with them. He was beefing with the turtle, Mitch McConnell.
Right.
But it's like Putin pisses him off, and he is just taking it out on everybody. I'm just taking it out on everybody. And then the thing about it is, he can only do that for so long before he steps in it and he lashes out at Putin. But now
Yeah.
we are in a position to where we don't have no backup. We over here by ourselves. You done pissed off everybody else. You got trade wars going on, and what's just going to happen to us? We're just here. You
I,
know
I
what I
just,
mean?
I,
And
I just want to give
you
people a
think
little
about Steve.
comfort. I want to give people a little comfort. You talked about pulling out of NATO, and
Yeah,
I can tell you, he's not going to be able to do that. He just can't because um, recently as just last year, there's a new National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2024. It was enacted on December 22nd of 2023 or 2023, prohibits the president from unilaterally withdrawing from NATO without approval of a two-thirds Senate supermajority or an act of Congress. Donald Trump just cannot pull us out of NATO. And he's certainly not going to get a two-third majority in the Senate or a supermajority in the Congress. Even Republicans aren't silly enough. Some Republicans aren't silly enough to go along with that. So, as much as we've got a lot of bad things going on, we don't really have to worry about NATO because he's not going to. Now, he could piss off NATO countries. That's true. But he isn't going to pull us out of NATO.
you know what that sound like to me?
But,
When my daughter's father was stalking me,
mm-hmm,
and you get an order, that piece of paper that
yeah.
said he's not supposed to be around you. He can do this, he can't do that. That's what that sounds like to me.
So you think
That's what
he,
that sounds.
but there's got to be some way constitutionally that he can pull it off if he goes outside the lines of that law. And there's a lot of things Donald Trump says, a lot of things Donald Trump says he's going to do. But past history
Mhm.
tells us he talks a big game, but he doesn't really accomplish most of the things he wants to do. I mean, he can pass a big tax break for rich people because all the Republicans want to do it. But pulling out from NATO could be disastrous for this country. And even Republicans aren't going to go along with that. I mean, the majority of Republicans anyway. We got a lot of things to worry about with Donald Trump. What do you think about what's going on right now? I mean, I'm hearing,
I got
and
I got a question.
yeah,
Who gonna stop him? I mean, like seriously, who gonna stop him? The
uh,
Supreme Court? Who like see Trump starts doing crap like that. Who is gonna come over there and say, here go your handcuffs, you going to jail? Who is going to stop Trump from doing that?
well, that
Look at his cabinet. Cash Patel. Cash Patel at the head of the CIA.
yeah, but
Roger Stone at the head of the FBI. These people, they like, and then you already see like Schedule F, they pulling people out of certain positions and they putting loyalists in there. So in order for Trump not to be able to do this, we need somebody that's going to hold him accountable and say, no, you cannot do this. My question is, who is that going to be? Because I'm not sitting here, if, he has a trifecta. So I'm supposed to say, okay, you know what? These, I don't know if you want to call them reasonable or not, but these reasonable Republicans are going to be the ones that hold him accountable.
now the people that are going to hold him
I wouldn't put
accountable
my money
in
on
this
that.
in this NATO situation is clearly Congress, and he can't override Congress, especially if he needs a supermajority. And I'll give you a case in point in that he wanted to get rid of the ACA. He couldn't pull it off. He didn't do it. I mean, I think people get so scared of Donald Trump and they think he's omnipotent and fully powerful and he does whatever he says. If you really look at what happened in the 4 years he was president, yeah, he did some fucked up shit because the Republicans allowed him to do it. But there were some other things he never pulled off because it was just fucking crazy. I'm not saying he's not going to do bad things, but just because he says it, we shouldn't buy into it and say, okay, that's definitely going to happen. Because Donald Trump, we know, is a failure. Everything he does, he fails. He can make all these claims. Like, I'm really interested to see how he's going to pull off these deportations. He claims he's going to do it right from the beginning. Um, he um, he made the border czar, a guy by the name of Tom Horman. Now, this is interesting. Donald Trump went on and on telling us, I don't know anything about Project 2025. I don't know anything about it. Although much of his staff worked for Project 2025, his name showed up in the documents some 300 times. And guess what? Tom Horman, the border czar, is one of the main authors of Project 2025. So you Trumplafucks that were trying to tell me that he didn't know anything about 2025, he fucking lied at you. He made you look like a stupid bitch. And guess what? You are stupid bitches. So anyway, um, he's not he's not omnipotent. And the fact of the matter is I think this is a weird situation. This is a different situation than 2016 because there's nothing to shoot for. Donald Trump, for example, doesn't need votes and doesn't need money at this time. He can grift all the money he wants. So he's very transactional. So nobody is going to be his best buddy for life, especially Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a narcissist. Donald Trump is a narcissist. Those two can't coexist ultimately. He doesn't need Elon for the money anymore or the votes or the attention. So Elon may be only in for a short stint with Donald Trump because we know what he does with his staff. He'll do something stupid. They'll say, better not do that. Then they're fucking fired. Donald Trump is a mess. He will fuck things up. He will cause some problems. But keep in mind, he's incompetent and he's inept. And thank God for that.
I don't really, at first I was thinking before this that, they're going to 86 him out, 25th Amendment, whatever, he going to be out.
That's
And
possible.
then I started seeing that, Mike Johnson and JD Vance and a couple other little goon squads are putting together, I forgot the name of it, but they're putting it together because in the Constitution, it doesn't specifically say, I guess, like two terms, like two consecutive terms. So like if you are in there for the first time and then you don't do your second term and then you come back in that third time, then you're able to get two consecutive terms, right?
That's not true. That's not true.
And
that's not true.
That's not true. That's what they're trying to do.
Well,
And
it's not going to work because it's not
we have to
constitutional.
we have to trust our Supreme Court not to, I don't know, do something crazy like give him immunity.
Well, I
when he
don't
went
I don't think
around.
Donald Trump makes it 2 years because of his own physical health and what he does in this world on the world stage. He's pissing off and scaring a lot of foreign countries. Maybe it's Israel,
Yeah,
maybe it's Russia, maybe it's Ukraine. I got to tell you what, when people are that scared, they do some fucking crazy stuff. And if some foreign country sends somebody over here to take him out, it ain't going to be an 18-year-old kid with emotional problems. It's going to be serious. I'm not wishing that on him, but like I've said before, when people are scared, they react emotionally or they overreact. I mean, even people in this country, I've said this before, I'm more concerned about violence if Donald Trump wins than if he lost. And I think people are terrified right now. You know that from the people you're talking to. How do they react if they think their daughter could be raped and then left to die in a parking lot someplace? People aren't going to take too kindly to that. And they're going to get scared and they're going to get nervous and people are going to do crazy shit. I just hope to God they have the Secret Service doubled around him right now because he could be in danger.
I would feel like that if Donald Trump was steering the ship because he's an idiot.
Yeah.
And he has these flight of ideas. He can't stay on track. He's all over the place. He's consumed with like vengeance and pettiness. Like that's him. I think at this point, the way that I'm starting to see it is let him hold that spot. He can go golf, you know, I guess govern from Twitter or whatever it is that he wants to do. And then these evil, competent people
I understand.
are the ones that be in charge.
Right.
If Donald Trump was in charge, that's completely different than Roger Stone. That's completely different than JD Vance. That's completely different than Kash Patel. It's completely different than Elon Musk. So you have, like, you went around this country, seriously, and you picked the most evil, vile, vindictive, nasty, racist people, you put them in charge, and then you go golf, or if it's like a summit in another country or something like that, it's you go to that summit. To me, it's like a child when you want to keep them busy, or it's like, okay, yeah, you can go on vacation with your little friends or whatever. But I don't think he is going to have an active role in this at all. I think these evil people that we're seeing that's coalescing around him, these people with the plans, those are the people we need to be afraid of, because those are the people that's in charge. Those are the people that's in charge right now. Donald Trump isn't like making major announcements. That's them that's doing it.
Right.
Them getting the interviews. That's them letting us know what's going on. The only thing that we have right now is, and I think he could be doing, oh, I don't think, I know he could be doing more than what he's doing, is Joe Biden. So right
Yeah.
now, I think he's trying to put like 30 judges in, and he's still got 30 judges to go before January 20th. And the whole strategy that um, the governors have is, when Trump tries to come into their cities and do all this other kind of stuff, they are going to keep it tied up in court with these judges that, Biden put into certain positions.
Right.
And if you can kind of put some sand in the wheel to just kind of like slow that grinding down and get us to, our midterms, then that's the plan right now. Like that's the plan that we have. That's the play that we have to make right now. So we are just depending on, I'm pretty sure, Biden gonna get those judges through.
Yeah.
And I'm Gavin Newsom and everybody else that's spoken out. I know that they're going to do their part to slow it down and make sure that it's as less hurt as possible.
Well,
But
yeah.
at the same time, if you are a lawless person, you're not following the laws and the rules
Yeah.
in your court case. We just seen Donald Trump threaten every single judge he ever had.
Right.
So just imagine the difference to do. And it's like you're seeing them say stuff like, oh, okay, so California isn't going to let us activate their National Guard. Fine, we're going to take National Guards from these red states and put them into the blue states and handle business like we told them to do. And I have no doubt that they would try to do this. So you're going to put National Guard up against National Guard. I don't know how it's going to work out, but that's what they're planning on doing.
I
I was
don't
talking
know.
to my brother last night. I was like, hey, so if you have red states that's ready to do mass deportations and you have blue states like, that's not going down, why won't they just start with the red states and, work their way over to the blue states? Do you know, he told me, and I didn't even think about this, but probably because I'm not like a strategist like he is. He said, well, the reason that you want to hit the blue states first is so that these red states who, they don't have money and all that other kind of stuff, you hit the blue states first because those are the biggest threats. And in addition to that, where are the people in the red states going to go to if you take those blue states out first? So that's why they're focusing on California. That's why they're focusing on New York. So they are focusing on places that could be a threat to them. They're focusing on places who governors and sheriffs is going to stand up to them. We need to take them out first so that the red states don't have anywhere to go when we do what we want to do.
But what are they going to do?
And
You're going to fight against each other? You're talking about a civil war? I find that hard to believe.
I
You
have
can't
no
walk in there
idea.
and say, we're taking over. You just can't do that. No governor is going to allow that. And the fact of the matter is, they've already talked about sending the decision back to the states with abortion. Now you're talking about them imposing their will. That seems a little out there. That I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, but if you come into Minnesota or especially California, you think Gavin Walz is going to say, "Oh my God, they came here to get us. Go ahead, take over." That ain't going to happen.
To answer your question, yeah, I do think they'll try to, push their will on people. I don't
Well,
put
they'll
that past them
try.
at all.
They'll
It's just
try.
the level. I think that, the plan that Gavin Newsom and the other governors have is to just kind of like slow it down and make them do as less damage as possible. But we have a whole 2 years for them to do that and be able to keep that up. Like we have a whole 2 years for that. It's insane to me that we see this going on. We know this is going on. And then I showed you that video the other day with the Pentagon and their, secret meetings and stuff, because they want to make sure that Donald Trump can't use the military on civilians.
Right.
But that's their concern. Their concern isn't us. Their concern isn't not a recession, but a depression. That's not their concern. Their concern is we just don't want the National Guard in the streets fighting people. You,
Yeah.
Donald Trump had a meeting with the leaders of the Proud Boys. Their colors are black and gold. After he had that meeting, he walked his butt on stage at his rally wearing black and gold.
Right.
So these are the people that they're to pardon and let out of prison. These are the people that they are having meetings with. These are the people that want to be an armed militia in America. And these are the people that they are going to turn loose on the streets. And if you think the Proud Boys is going to be scared when they're working for Donald Trump, I don't think they're going to care about that.
Yeah.
So I think people are like, and I get it because I don't want to be like the person that I am right now, but after this election, I had a whole wake up call. Who can you trust? And I really do think that we just don't have like the people that are supposed to protect us. They have no vested interest, and it seemed like they have no urgency, and it seemed like they're not concerned about any of this stuff that is being planned out in the open. It seemed like they just don't care about that.
The problem I have
And
with
so it's like we are on our own, and the only thing we could do.
The problem I have with what you're saying is it sounds like all is lost. There's nothing we can do. They can do whatever they want. And I disagree with you that completely.
I don't think that. However, it's like if you don't plan for the worst case, then you are like caught flat footed and off guard. So for me, I can't say that things will never happen. I'll say like it's not probable, it's not likely, but anything is possible. And you have to look at all of that. Because if you're just like, well, they have to go through the courts, they have to get permission to do that. They're not going to be able to get this through. The Supreme Court isn't going to allow that. I don't feel comfortable telling myself that and then being caught off guard when they do that.
Do, do you,
It's kind of like you setting yourself, don't plan for the worst, like you hoping for the best, but you do have to plan for the worst case scenario. You just have to. You just
you
have to.
I can't imagine pulling the things they pull that you think they might pull, and all Democrats. I'm not talking about politicians, but all Democrats just laying down and let them walk over the top of them. I, there's going to be pushback. And it's not going to be pleasant. Like I've said before, I think there's more likelihood of violence when Donald Trump wins as opposed to when he loses. And people are terrified right now, and people do react. And all Democrats aren't weak, and all Democrats aren't lapdogs. We do have some in politics, but the regular people on the streets and maybe the National Guard. I mean, do you think a California National Guard member and their troop or whatever is standing there, and one's from a red state walk in? You think they're just going to stand there and say, "Okay, go ahead, take over, guys"? I just don't think that's what's going to happen. If it does, I'm ashamed of the country and I'm ashamed of everything, and I'm close to that already.
I I love my brother to death, but I just kind of wish that I didn't know certain things that he tells me. And
Mm-hmm.
him and vote vets have been like trying so hard for the last few years to get Fox News off of the television and the army bases and stuff because that's what they watch.
Right.
So our military is watching Fox News inside and out, just like Republicans do. And some of them have been radicalized. And then when you look at the votes, a lot of them did vote for Trump because we are feeding them and we're pumping stuff into them, and the same stuff that you pump into MAGA. They get the same thing. They hear the same lies. They repeat the same disinformation. You can't say that they're apolitical and you're pumping propaganda in them on the basis. So I'm not like, it's not that I don't have faith in our military because I do, but you can't say like they're all going to hold the line because that may not be the case. And I think the worst case scenario is when they start to turn on each other. And I know that the Pentagon is trying to keep that under control and minimize that, but it's just kind of like us as a people. It's like all we have to do is like depend on each other. And I've seen videos from the civil rights movement, and I know I've seen the assassinations. I know what goes down. So when it's just us by ourselves, it's kind of like, how long are we gonna have to fight this thing? And I don't think that's something that, we can hold the line for 2 years and then expect everybody to go out and vote and do the right thing on top of that. So, midterms, what if we don't have a blue wave in the midterms? The only thing we can, only thing that'll make us have a blue wave, and this is the jacked up part about it, is this country has to be like really struggling. Like we have to be really effed up, seriously, for people to go out there and make it a blue wave to stop Donald Trump. So in order for us to get progress, to stop Donald Trump from doing all this horrific stuff that he wanted to do, is to suffer. That's the only way people are going to be motivated to do what they have to do. We're motivated in 2020 because of COVID.
All right, also, I wanted to bring something up, and I'm looking at what's going on right now,
Yeah.
and I don't know how much of it's true. Well, first, let me ask you this before we get into that part, because I think I'm going to piss you off. But and I don't like pissing off women; it never goes well for me. But all this talk about the cheating that went on, the possibility of the votes not being counted properly. If you go online, you've got every psychic, you've got every astrologer, you got everybody saying, I know this, my vote didn't count, all that stuff. What do you think about that whole argument that something fishy happened?
I never gave it a second thought.
Really?
Yeah.
People been asking me to talk about it. And I said, here's the deal. I'll wait to see evidence. And then I'll wait to see if the DOJ and the Democrats would even do anything about it. And people say, what do you mean? I said, well, think about this. Donald Trump had his first assassination, a lot of sketchy things about it, a lot of questions, a lot of things we didn't see. We led up to the
Yeah.
election and after the election, and nobody said a fucking word. The Democrats, if there was something off there, we didn't hear it from the Democrats or the DOJ, but we still have questions. So who's to say that if there was some huge problem with the votes that we'd ever hear about it? I'm not going to jump on a bandwagon and look like a fool if everybody else is just going to let it slide, if in fact it really happened.
I think I don't want to say nobody more than me because I know that, you know, Donald Trump being president is, far more dangerous for, you know, other people than it is for me. And I don't want to take away from what they are going to go through. Um, but, I don't think that when I say we, I just don't think that my community is going to allow ourselves to get caught up or wrapped up into that
Right.
because we already understand and already know how America is. For us, it was just like, okay, yeah, America is being America.
Right.
Like that's what happens. We don't look at it as this was unfair, somebody stole this from us. We just don't look at it like that. And if it's true, like, yeah, but it's not worth like the hope and the getting invested into this theory or that theory. The easiest thing to do is say, this is what it is, and let's deal with it and keep going.
I think
I,
people are grasping at
I don't,
straws. I think people are upset and they'll grasp at any straws. I'm not saying nothing happened, but I think that's what they're trying to do. I think a more reasonable answer to what happened was there were 12 to 15 million people that just didn't vote for president because she was black, because she was a woman, because she was South Asian, or they were mad about Gaza or whatever the fuck. I think it's likely that it was kind of a protest vote or non vote. And that's a more reasonable explanation, I think. We don't like it. It sounds crazy. But at this point, we don't have any evidence to any other effect really happening. We hear a lot of noise and a lot of people saying, well, this is funny and this is funny. That's well and good. We did that with the assassination attempt, but we've not seen any evidence. We've not seen anything about it. And to suspect we'll see something out of this, I'm dubious of that.
Um, I think that a lot of people they split their vote.
Yeah.
Because that's what like the groups that I'm in, the different like and then like the white women that was like with us and voted voted for Kamala, like they were just as shocked and outraged as the rest of us when we found out, like, thanks for the ballot initiative, but we just couldn't vote for her type stuff. And I do think a lot of that was going on. I do think that people that were answering polls was saying one thing and then doing something else. And if you ever like ask people like Trump supporters why they voted for Trump, they always give you all these different excuses. So it's like they just want to explain to you why they did what they did. And a lot of people, they cannot justify that. Well, they can, but they're not ready to be honest about it.
Right.
And so I do think that, a lot of people just, I thought it was like kind of crap with those secret Trump voters. And, I guess it wasn't really crap. Some people are just not ready to be honest with themselves about that. And I think that was a lot that went on. And then, like you said, protest votes and, for Gaza and stuff like that. I this isn't funny. This is not funny. But I saw a protest this morning when I woke up. I was seeing that people were protesting outside of Trump Towers. And it was just kind of like they spent the whole election saying, um, don't
Genocide
vote,
Joe.
vote third party. And if you absolutely have to vote for Trump. Like that's what they were telling all the people who care about Gaza and all of that stuff. That was their message. Like there's plenty of videos out there of them saying this. And then once Trump won, they were kind of like,
Oh
yeah,
shit.
yeah. He told me like, yeah, this but I don't, it's not just them either. Because I don't know if you've noticed how quiet it is. It's kind of like once it was announced that he won, like as a country, everybody was like they could feel the weight of what just happened. A lot of them was shocked. Like I think that they was thinking like, hey, I can do my little protest vote. I can't show up because if you look towards the end of the race, it was saying, how large of a margin she was going to win by. And she had Beyonce, Taylor Swift, all this stuff. I think people allowed themselves to think like, okay, yeah, people are going to turn out. We know what happened in 2016, but then at the same time, they chose to stay home or they chose not to vote, and they didn't understand that millions of people was in that same mind frame, and so they were really surprised when she didn't win. I think a lot of that is what happened because when you look back to when in 2020 when Biden won, people were celebrating all the way up until January 20th.
Right.
Same thing with Obama. We was like, I my outfit. I got to go to the inauguration. Like everybody was excited and happy. Even with Kamala at her rallies, we were all excited and hyped up. Once we realized that Trump had won, like the whole mood of the country was like a dark cloud and
Right.
everybody got quiet. And I think that people did not realize what they had done until it happened.
Well,
And I think mostly that it is. I don't think it was stolen or anything like that.
a good example of these people that were voting against Joe, calling him Genocide Joe and all of that.
Yeah.
Here's what they have to understand now. So, what you voted for, you voted against Joe Biden because you didn't like what he was doing. You called him Genocide Joe. Now,
Yeah.
what you've got to deal with is Donald Trump is best buddies with Bibi Netanyahu. Donald Trump is going to allow him to do whatever the fuck he wants, bomb the piss out of him. That's essentially what Donald Trump has said. Bibi Netanyahu has no motivation to stop the war because once he does, he could end up in jail. So he wants to perpetuate it. But Donald Trump is going to give him the opportunity to do anything. So all of you people that voted against Joe Biden because he wasn't handling it properly, there's going to be a lot of people in Gaza, innocent people dead. And I would
Yeah.
blame Donald Trump, but you know who I blame more? You dumb fucks that voted against it. It is your fault. The blood is on your hands. And that's what's going to happen. You watch. That's what's going to happen.
I'm glad that you said that because other people are not saying that.
No.
I saw others saying that, I mean, like, it's Kamala's fault. She was a Black woman. She ran. We're not going to address the half of the country that felt comfortable voting for Trump over her. We're not going to address that. We're just going to point out all the things that she did wrong and all of the things that she could have done better. And Bernie Sanders got his butt on national television. And he was saying that Kamala Harris, and first of all, I don't know why they are saying Kamala Harris allowed this to happen, that to happen. She should have stopped it. She was in charge for 40 years. Okay, so what executive actions did Mike Pence take?
Yeah.
What executive actions did Al Gore take? What
Right.
executive actions are you expecting JD Vance to take? None. These people know that Kamala Harris was not the president of the United States. They knew that she was the vice president. On top of that, the things that she did do, she did it for the working people. It wasn't just Joe Biden who walked with the unions. Kamala Harris did that too. I could tell you from firsthand experience from somebody who went to two of her rallies. Always up front is the volunteers, the people that volunteered, and union workers. They had the carpet rolled out for them. During the negotiations with the car manufacturers, her and Biden was like right there, like, hey, yeah, we're going to help you negotiate a living wage. You're going to get your retirement. We're going to do this and that. Like they helped the working people. They really did.
Anybody who
And
walks
then
up to
they,
me, anybody who walks up to me and says Kamala was at fault in this campaign, I'm going to slap the taste out of their mouth because she had 90 days. She ran a perfect campaign, and the failure isn't with Kamala. The failure is with the people of this country. We have 74 million people.
But we're not going to talk about that.
So we have 74 million people, and I'm just going to say it, that are racist, misogynistic, terroristic, uh, traitors, anti-Semitic. And people say, well, I'm not like Donald Trump. Well, you voted for him, so yes, you are. It's on you. You are all those things. Here's what I was suggesting. When I look at things, I try to take the emotion out of it and say, okay, this is what we got. What do we do? And one of the options is because I've been seeing a lot of people coming out online, uh, people of color, Black people, Latinos, women, all of a sudden going, what the fuck happened? I voted for him, but now they're not embracing me. If you, V from Under the Desk News, when I was at this conference, said that she'd found out that the day after the election, the top Googled thing was, can I change my vote? There's a lot of people going, what the fuck? Now, my question to you is this, and you're not going to like this, and I don't even know if it's a good decision, but if it was just a normal business decision, this is what I would do. We got what we got. He's going to be president. We know he's going to do horrific things.
Yeah.
We know people are going to suffer. There's nothing we can really do to stop that. There's nothing. So why not step back and let them burn it down? And because the people who will get burned down first will be his people. And then that will create a certain amount. The only reason I say that is not because I want to see people hurt or suffering, but I think that may be the quickest way to get it done. So it's a shorter period of time. We've got to protect our people. We got to, the people on the left have to protect the people of color, LGBTQ, people of different religions, immigrants. We've got to do our part there, and that's going to take a lot of effort. But it isn't going to be until his own people suffer, and they will suffer mightily. There are going to be Latino people, Latino men being put on buses or in internment camps that had thought they were safe because they went about it legally. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're here legally. It matters what color your skin is. And when they fucked around and find out, maybe we'll get some kind of uproar here. I don't know what else to do.
I understand why you're saying that, but It's the same reason why, it's like the wild child. She's like, hey, we can be like Thelma and Louise, come to Germany with me. um, the reason that we can't do that is the same reason why I can't pack my bags and go to Germany with her, is because there are innocent people here. There are children here. We have our LGBTQ community to look out for, especially our trans community. And I am not the type of person that's just going to flee and leave them hanging like that.
I understand
It's
that.
just,
I understand that. But the point is given the circumstances, what can we do? Here's what I'm afraid of. Donald Trump does all this egregious stuff. We do everything we can, which ain't much, to try to stop it. And then they flip it on
yeah,
us like they've done everything else. Well, we would have gotten it right if the Democrats didn't fuck it up. They'll place the blame with us. If the blame
yeah,
is all with them, then they take the heat. They have to take the responsibility. It's a tough choice. I mean, it is. I have, friends like you and other people of color and of different religions and immigration status and stuff like that. This
yeah,
country fucked around and found out they elected him. There is going to be problems because of this. Donald Trump is incompetent. The people around him are evil.
yeah.
People maybe forgot what happened the first 4 years he was in office, but they are going to be quickly reminded. The people that voted for him are going to say, "What the fuck?" And they've got to suffer if we want them to change. You said that as much before earlier, where, we've got to let it get as bad so there's any change. And unfortunately, you may be right about that.
Yeah, I think that we're definitely gonna have to suffer, but um it's crazy because like other people's skin doesn't seem to be as thick as like ours is because we know it's gonna get bad, and just like hey, that's just getting ready to happen. But I don't think a lot of people can cope with that. I really don't. I don't think a lot of these people can cope with that.
Oh, I agree.
It we could pack all the babies up and our vulnerable population, put them on a plane and just put them on an island or something, let people take care of them. And it's just us adults here that has to clean up our mess and do what we have to do to make that happen to bring them back. That's one thing. But it's kind of like you have to minimize the pain for these people. And it's not for them. It's because like the same reason I bring girls here. I'm not
Right.
going to tell you you can't because your mother voted for Trump.
Right.
Like they don't deserve that. But at the same time, we are going to have to hurt before we can get something better. And people as being as soft and as privileged and unrealistic as they are, it's not going to take much for them to see.
I
And
don't
like
think
the
so.
only
No.
thing I think is like what you just said is like his supporters have to see it first before that there's any change. And I don't think that his supporters are built for any like long period of a
Adversity.
depression in this state.
Well,
Yeah, I don't think they're built for that. I don't think they are built for, RFK is in charge of health. And so I don't think these people are built for polio coming back and the measles coming back and, people getting cancer all the time because the water ain't clean. And the way we keep the water clean, he thought that it wasn't right. And so he took that away. Like these are the type of things that people are going to experience.
yeah.
And then if it gets worse than that, the sad part, I hate to say this, but people are either going to go crazy or you're going to start seeing people jumping off of buildings. It's going to be tough, but it could be worse if we just stood back and not do nothing at all.
I got you.
So like our idea of is bad to them is like hell. Like we could be like, oh, this is bad. I'm
Right.
gonna have to figure out some extra money to get my rent paid.
I
To
talked
them, it's gonna
I,
be the end of earth for them. But no,
I talked to one Trump fuck, and he was excited about
yeah.
Trump being elected. I said,
Mm-hmm.
"So is your wife going to find a new career? Is she going to take another road in a career?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Your wife's a teacher, right?" You said, "Yeah."
Hmm.
I said, well, Donald Trump said he's going to close down the Department of Education, and the Republicans have said they're going to dismantle all of education in this country to do whatever the fuck they want to do. If that happens, your honey's out of a fucking job. He goes, oh, that won't
Hmm.
happen. I said, really? You believe everything Donald Trump says? He said that. He said that, and so did the Republicans. So maybe you better think about that. And I said, what about your job? What about when the economy goes to shit? You know, you count on. I think they worked in the automotive industry, and I said, you count on parts from
Yeah.
other parts of the world.
Yeah.
What are you going to do when people can't afford to fix their cars or buy the parts from you? What are you going to do? He goes, oh, that won't happen. I go, well, then you're fooling yourself, and you're going to have to fuck around and find out. But when you find out, don't come crying or whining to me. Do what you claim everybody else does. And you can go on welfare and try to survive, because what you're got planned for you doesn't give a fuck about you. He doesn't give a fuck about your wife. You people will struggle. And I said, and I don't mean to be arrogant about this, but I needed it for the argument. I said, here's the deal.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. My wife and I are old white people living in a blue state. We're retired. We have our income pretty much set. You know, the cost of things going higher is a problem, but I'm going to be fine. I'm here fighting for my kids and my grandkids, but we're in a good enough position to make sure our kids and grandkids are okay in the worst possible situation. Who's going to save you, motherfucker? And they just kind of look at me. I just don't think that's going to happen. I said, well, good for you. But when it does, don't call me because I don't care. I'm going to laugh my ass off at you. And that's the kind of thing you wouldn't do, but you know me, I will fucking do it.
Well, I'm gonna take care of my own first.
Yeah.
But I heard someone say, "Ooh, it's gonna be a whole lot of people on welfare." And then it wasn't my business because we was out in public, but I couldn't help myself. You should be quiet if you don't want me to butt in on your conversation. Anyway, so I was like, what welfare? And she was just like, yeah, yeah, Trump not good with a budget or something, she said. She's like, but he better than Kamala. I was like, oh, okay. So where you gonna get the welfare from? And she's like, I was like, where are people gonna get the welfare from? You don't hear Mike Johnson over there talking about we need to cut these entitlement programs? You didn't hear Elon Musk when he said, yeah, it's gonna hurt for a while, but it'll get better. And she just looked at me because she had no idea what I was talking about. She
Yeah.
had no idea what I was talking about. Elon Musk stood his butt on stage and said, it's gonna get worse, like people are gonna hurt before it gets better. And you know what the crowd did? Ah, yeah. They were basically clapping for this man to tell you, yeah, yeah, y'all supposed to be poor.
Well, and the
But
thing
don't worry,
is,
eventually poor no more. And you have everybody that Trump has put in his administration or is putting in his administration, even Hulk Hogan, these people don't believe in entitlement programs. Because
yeah,
and it's not that they don't believe in entitlement programs, but at the end of the day, how do they get their tax cuts and give us Social Security and the Affordable Care Act? You can't do both of those at the same time. So one
no.
of these things have to go. And if you are worth $235 billion and I got $2.50 in my bank account, logic would tell you that I need Social Security. But for them, they're like, well, you know what? We'll just raise the age and you can work until you're 80. But in the meantime, I need to add to my $235 billion.
Well, and
That's how they get their
the
tax cuts and have entitlement programs. One of those things have to go, and the entitlement programs have to go. And every time I tell somebody that, they are always speechless. They never have anything to say about that, ever.
no. Well,
This,
and the thing about it is they're under the understanding or the belief that all this stuff is going to happen to Democrats, but not them. And they are sadly mistaken. It's definitely going to happen to them. You've already voted for him. You've already given him your money. So he doesn't give a shit about you. Theoretically, he doesn't have to run again. He can grift as much money as he wants as president. He doesn't need you
yeah,
anymore. He doesn't care what you think. And people just don't get that.
Mm-mm. He like one of his last rallies, he was like, I'm gonna let Elon run wild. He's gonna do what he wants to do. Just don't take the liquid gold from under our feet. He's gonna
Yeah.
run wild. He's just go, Elon, just run wild.
But you know as
And
well as I do
it's
that
like
it's
y'all
going
don't
to
have
go
a problem
badly.
with him saying that?
It's going to go badly as soon as he takes over. Part of me is
Yeah, it's
anxious
gonna
for
be,
him to take over. Prices will go up, inflation will go up, people will suffer, and all these people that voted for him are going to be standing there going, "What the fuck happened?" And when that happens, it's going to
yeah.
cause a lot of problems within the Republican Party. That's why I kind of think that the Republicans will want to get rid of Donald Trump as quickly as possible. They want to do some of this draconian shit, but Donald Trump's going to be the fly in the ointment. He's going to do crazy and stupid stuff, which is going to take away from whatever they want to do. He was a means to an end. Get him the presidency. And now after this, he's really not valuable to the Republican Party. He's not going to get them any more votes. He's not going to get reelected, and he's going to do crazy shit and embarrass the Republican Party. They have nothing more to gain from Donald Trump. So I'm wondering how they're going to handle that.
That's the reason that, before I was thinking they were going to 25th Amendment him, what you just said is the reason why I don't think they're going to do that now. Because these policies and this stuff that they are trying to do, that all comes on Donald Trump. That's under his belt, not theirs.
Right.
So when everything goes to hell and, we're going through whatever, Donald Trump is the president. He signed, I mean, he's the guy who is responsible for everything, right? Even though he claims he's not responsible for anything. But at this point, Donald Trump is used to pointing a finger and blaming other people. But when you are the president of the United States and, you know, you were mad because your box of Fruit Loops cost $4 under Joe Biden, and now all of a sudden under Trump it costs 8. When you are upset because all of the immigrants that keep this country going, now they're all gone, you're going to be mad at Donald Trump because he stood on his rally and screamed that for what, 4 years. And I think that JD Vance and the rest of these evil people, and he's stupid too. Donald Trump is like the perfect fall guy for all of this.
Yeah.
So he's the perfect person to blame, and so that they can, skirt away with their riches. And he's like the perfect fall guy for them. So it would be dumb to 25th Amendment him when you could just run roughshod, do whatever you want to do, cause all this death and destruction and carnage everywhere. So you get to do all that, take your pot of millions and run off and leave Donald Trump here to be responsible for that. But that's where I think they're going at this point. I really do. Like, this is the perfect person that you could just make the fall guy. And he's stupid too. He has no idea what's going on around him.
No,
None.
he has
None.
no idea. But don't you think what do you think happens? He takes over. They try to do all their shit. They try to deport a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Regardless if you're Republican or Democrat, just the optics of trying to round up these people, much like the Nazis, putting them in camps or sending them out. The optics is horrific. Um, the idea that the economy may crash, people's stuff are going to get more expensive, people are going to lose jobs. How do you maintain
Yeah.
anything, any power at all when you come to the midterms? They're going to they have to self destruct because it's not going to go well.
Yeah. I mean, that is possible. I'm just hoping that we can do what we can to safeguard the votes where we can.
Hmm.
I wouldn't hold out much hope in some of these other states with like hardcore red. However, I did see, that Greg Abbott was, you know, I call him a stunt queen. That's because that's all he do is just he performs for, the racist people.
Right.
And he get all these migrants, put them on these planes, send them to California, send them to North. Like he's just a stunt queen. He's just doing stuff to make the racists like him. And he had a press conference the other day, And they were asking him about, like, hey, you've been so anxious to get these migrants out of here. Like, how do how are you gonna make this happen? Like Trump, he's supposed to be in there. Like, you would think that he would be happy. Yeah, that he was like, wait, 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 wait. This takes time. We're still building this and doing that. Like he was already setting up the narrative that, we have to make sure the tent cities get up. We have to make sure like we have steps that we have to go through. We can't just go around and start deporting people. And it's like, that's what they want to do.
Do you
But
think?
I think that Greg, the people with a vested interest in these immigrants being here,
Yeah.
I think Abbott realized that, and he realized it real quick because at that press conference, he was real quick to be like, "Hey, there's steps to this. We have to do." It's like there weren't no steps to it before you put them on a plane and sent them to California. You
Do you
didn't need
think?
permission to do that.
Do you think
All of a sudden,
Greg?
you
Do you
need
think?
permission.
Do you think Greg Abbott and some of these other people were just as surprised that Donald Trump won as we were?
Yeah, absolutely. What's his name? Jim Jordan, that idiot. He didn't even have an answer when he was doing the Sunday shows. Like, okay, so before this election, you guys saved all this money because our elections are fraudulent and they're not valid. So what's going on now? Trump won, so what's going on now? And he sat there like, oh no, our elections are free and fair. And she repeated it to him a couple of times. Oh, so now that Trump won, the elections are free. He tried to talk his way out of it, but at the end of the day, he ended up just saying yes. And then the crazy part about it is, because Trump is too much of a wuss to, go toe to toe with Putin, he is online today ranting and raving about the House seats in Pennsylvania, whatever other state that it is, or in Arizona, that it was rigged. The election was rigged. Carrie Lake's election was rigged, and it was another election. I want to say Pennsylvania. It was rigged. He is like online tripping because those elections were rigged. And the crazy,
Yeah.
you won. You guys have a majority in both places. This is a trifecta that you got going on.
Yeah.
And and people's like, what is he doing? Like, this is dumb. He has a trifecta. He didn't win. Why is he saying these things? And it dawned on me. He don't have nothing else to talk about. He don't have
Right.
nothing else to say.
No, he
You
doesn't.
already are. You got these people in places. They're gonna start rounding people up. That's what you want to do. What else are you gonna say besides the election is rigged? Like there's literally nothing else for him to say. Nothing
Don't
else
you,
for him to say. So he's complaining about a, a race in Arizona and another one in Pennsylvania, even though they got the majority, it was rigged. Like the Democrats rigged these two House seats, even though they still got the majority. And we didn't rig the presidential election. We rigged these two seats. He's a madman. Like
yeah,
he really is. There's nothing else for him to talk about.
well, don't you think the Republicans are a little concerned now? They're like the dog chasing the car. Their whole strategy was to talk shit about the Democrats and all the bad things the Democrats have done.
Yeah.
Now, Donald Trump will be president. They have the Senate, possibly have the House. How are they going to blame the Democrats when the shit goes bad? They aren't going to have any message other than trying to talk their way
Mhm.
out of fucking up as badly as they've done. This may be the last thing they wanted because they don't have policy. Their only strategy is going after the
Mhm.
Democrats. But when they're in charge and have everything going their way and it goes badly, what do you do?
I'm laughing because you asking that question is like a normal, rational person. These people ain't rational. They're not normal. Is that I don't know if the reason that I'm saying this is because I was with my TT and the ladies, and there's an old lady there. She's like full grown Trump humper. Like that's just who she is. And she was actually upset at Marjorie Taylor Greene or whatever. And so like I thought that was your homegirl. Why are you mad? Because I'm just poking at her. And she was just like, well, they supposed to be investigating price gouging and this and that and the third. And she on there talking about she supposed to have hearings with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden's brother. And they bringing in all of these people. What the hell does that have to do with the cost of tea in China? Like and so I was like, actually, Kamala Harris is the one that wanted to tackle price gouging and shrinkflation, and she wanted rent control, and she wanted more affordable housing. How did you get those messages mixed up?
Yeah.
But it dawned on me that when they're campaigning, they're saying gas is too high, groceries is too high. The Democrats, it's because of them that your pockets are empty. We can fix all of that. They don't tell them how they're going to do it. They're just saying, we're going to fix that because the Democrats suck and you are broke because of the Democrats. And they think that when Republicans get in control, I don't know why, because we just had a whole 2 years of them in control of the House and they did nothing. But now that they are back in their seats again, these people are like, she's not even joking. These people are seriously confused why the top of the agenda for the hearings is, not the control of insulin or none of that stuff. It's we need to investigate Hunter Biden. We need to, like, they have a whole list. Fonnie Willis is on that list. Everybody, like all these people, they want to drag them down to Washington, put them in Congress, and just grill these people for, I have no idea. But that is what they want to do. Marjorie Taylor Greene has already talked about it. She's told them on day one, this is what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. And I don't understand why they would think that she would do anything else. Because if you wasn't happy with her doing that the last 2 years, then you probably wouldn't want to reelect her. But if you reelect her, you are telling her that you have absolutely no problem with her BSing for 2 years, wasting money, stressing you out because every 6 months, we don't know if the government is going to shut down or all of this other nonsense that we was like going crazy behind. If you was that upset, why are you voting for her again?
Right.
Like they didn't understand that. Like they do get it. It's like they just gonna have to see. I just hope it's not as bad as I know it's going to be. And I never think about the parents who vote for Trump or any of that. I just know that children can't pick their parents
Right.
and they are the ones that hurt the most. And I would assume that most parents are like me. And when you see your child hurt, it's like it's all off limits at that point.
Right.
I don't know because I've seen plenty of girls come here who parents just they didn't care. So I don't know. I think that maybe their children hurting could have more of an impact if it was just them hurting. I'm assuming because a lot of these women, they don't care. They don't care.
The problem is people who voted for Donald Trump are going to be hurting, maybe more so than their kids and everything. They're going to be hurting and they're going to have nobody
Yeah.
to blame but themselves. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. And it's going to be interesting to see how the Democrats handle that. I mean, we have a lot of people um, on the Democratic side that are very smart. Jamie Raskin, uh, Eric Swalwell,
Oh,
AOC, those people, they aren't stupid. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle this. Now, one of the things that we've been against all along or I've been against all along, I still am against it, is the filibuster. Republicans love the filibuster because they could
yeah.
obstruct everything. But guess who loves the filibuster now? Democrats, because they're in the minority in the
Mm,
Senate and they can shut down anything they want to do and make it a 60 vote thing. So now all of a sudden, the filibuster is a good thing. I don't think it's a good thing ultimately, but if people are stupid
yeah.
enough to vote for Republicans, it's nice to have at least one thing to stave them off a little bit.
Yeah. Have you seen what's going on with Mitch McConnell?
I have. He seems to try to temper this. He's got a couple people for for um for leadership that are a little more
Mm,
moderate. John Thune, John Cornyn. I don't know that he's that moderate, but more moderate than some of the crazy fucks they're talking about. I think Mitch
yeah.
McConnell knows about the upcoming disaster that
Yeah.
is the Republican Party, and he's trying to do anything he can to kind of settle things down. I don't know if it'll work.
Yeah. That old geezer. I don't like him. I don't like this man. But at the end of the day, he doesn't want to see the country go into a depression. I want to make a lot of money. I don't want the black people here. I don't want the brown people here. And I want churches to run everything. That's Mitch McConnell. But he sees what's happening. So he took three of like the never Trumpers in the Senate. And he is like, we're going to have a closed door vote for the Senate majority leader. Not only that, because he knows his coworkers or his peers are cowards, he's
Mhm.
making it a secret vote.
Right.
And so he's like running around, he's not like Mike Johnson and dang sure not the speaker before that, Kevin McCarthy. He is making sure he has the numbers first. And then when they do the secret vote, then they're going to vote for somebody who is a never Trumper. And in addition to like making sure that these people are not going to let these crazy budgets and these crazy bills just, go through the Senate, the people that he is picking is people who care about their stock portfolio and their bank account before they care about their own mama. Those
Right.
are the people that he's in place because he wants to make sure that these people are not going to allow them to just bankrupt everything. And so it's kind of like he knows what they're getting ready to do, and he's doing everything he can to kind of like limit it or lessen that. And it's really pissing MAGA off. It's pissing him off. They've been saying some crazy stuff about Mitch McConnell as if he cares. And it's weird because when we call them names, like they hurt. They take that personally. They cry about it.
Mhm.
They're outraged about it. And they can say the most god awful stuff to you, and you just kind of like, yeah, you probably need to go back to the playground. That's childish. And it's not phasing Mitch McConnell at all. He's like, no, this is what I'm doing. And so it's kind of interesting to watch him work and put things into place to prevent them from going too crazy. But at the same time, it's so disappointing that Mitch McConnell is trying to do what he can to stop this. But
Yeah.
there's Democrats that's in there that's like, I don't know, like we got 2 years and it's just regroup. And it's so disappointing that Mitch McConnell is fighting harder than the Democrats is.
Well,
Like that's just that doesn't even make sense.
that's a good point. I've said all along that the reason, first of all, one thing I've done as of November 5th, I refuse to watch any mainstream media news. I think they're complicit in Donald Trump being elected the first time. I think they're complicit in the second time. I think they aren't giving us information. They're just trying to stir shit. I'm not going to do
Yeah,
that. Other people I hold responsible for this is the DOJ, Merrick Garland. We
yes.
could have been done
Mhm.
with a lot of this shit if they just did their job, but they've exposed themselves for how weak they are. They have no teeth. Secondly, Congress. Congress showed they have no teeth. And then the Democrats. They know what they were
Mhm.
dealing with. And I'm woefully disappointed with the Democratic Party. I don't know who I like right now because they're partially responsible for where we are right now. I know they tried some, the January 6th committee and all that stuff, but it's all for naught because Merrick Garland fucks it up. I don't, like you said, I don't know who you trust. I don't definitely trust the Republicans,
Yeah,
but I'm certainly not counting on the Democrats at this point.
no, I don't even know what Chuck Schumer like. What the heck are you doing? Um, yeah, it's to me, it's like I feel offended. Like I really do feel offended because Merrick Garland, through his actions, told the American people that for the sake of not being called partisan and for the sake of not being accused of a witch hunt, we're just going to kind of do everything we can to give Donald Trump as much grace as possible and to hell with y'all. Like that's basically what he, through his actions, that's what he said. And it's stupid because, well, I don't want to, he's not a stupid man, but that's not a smart move because they said that anyway. Like, and they were going to say that anyway. It's not being, and it's the perfect time to strike was when he took office in January because January 6th was still fresh on everybody's mind. We
Right.
just had the hearings. But the longer you go and the more lies and propaganda that gets pumped into these people, the more that you're tainting the American population. And not even that was enough to stop him. Not even, I don't know if you remember, but when they had the bounties on our soldiers' heads, and we knew that that happened after Trump took meetings with the Saudis when they were out there golfing at his golf course. And he did nothing then. Like you got soldiers walking around with bounties on their head, and you're not gonna do nothing about that. And it's just kind of like for the sake of, I don't know if it's for the sake of institutions or if it's the sake for he don't want everybody to see him as being partisan, that you would just let somebody like that just skirt by.
Well,
It baffles my brain on that. I don't get that. I do not understand that. I
Merrick
don't get it.
Garland, Merrick Garland is not a stupid man, but at the very best, he's a
Yeah,
coward. At the very worst,
yeah,
he's complicit with the Republican Party, the Federalist, whatever. He wanted
yeah.
to not appear political, and in the process,
Mhm.
he could have essentially destroyed the country because if he prosecuted Donald Trump when he could have, Donald Trump wouldn't be an issue right now. The Republicans would be having to regroup, but he let it
Yeah.
ride. He fucked around. He waited 2 years, and this is where we
Mhm.
are. I hold Merrick Garland personally responsible for this. And if we can cancel him or screw up his legacy, he deserves it because he is responsible. And of course, the Democrats,
Yeah.
well, we're going to wrap things up here in a minute, but the last thing we want to talk about is Joe Biden. We like Joe Biden. We like what he did. I've always had a problem with Joe Biden to being too old school, not living in this day and age, going by what it was in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. We're not living in that area anymore. Does Joe Biden's
Yeah.
got what, 10 weeks before he's out of office? Does he do anything or does he just ride this out? Because if he does nothing, I'm going to be woefully disappointed in Joe Biden. He's got options. I don't know how much he could do, but if he does nothing, I'm going to be fucking disappointed.
Um, I think like right now what he's doing, I don't think it's enough.
No,
You are
no,
putting, I think it was like 230 judges that he's trying to get in there really quickly.
right,
Um, Putting those judges in there and hoping that those judges will be enough to slow them down. It's not enough,
no,
especially when you have the Supreme Court that we have. I don't put it past Trump and the rest of them to just say, yeah, well, we're just going to bypass these lower courts and we're just going to go straight to the Supreme Court, which is what they've been doing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so it's just kind of, those judges are only going to take us so far. If it was me personally, and I'm pretty sure I would be probably either a hero or just an anti-democratic person that should have never been in the White House. So it's
right,
going to be one of the me because I am not going to sit back and watch you do this to the American people. It is martial law. It is everything that I can think of in my power, even throwing myself on some train tracks because there's so many children and vulnerable people in this country for you just to say, okay, let's get them judges in there and slow this down. And it's just kind of like, no, you need to stop it.
right,
And nobody is willing to do that. It's kind of like, well, we can try this, we can try that. They're kind of like all over the place with that. But, Biden he's the president of the United States. And he even said himself, the buck stops with him. And it's just kind of like he needs to do more than judges. It's sad when Mitch McConnell is behind the scene making moves, doing more than the president of the United States. I think that's one thing we could take away from Republicans is when they have power, they have absolutely no problem wielding it unapologetically. No problem with that at all. None.
and the
And
Democrats don't.
they don't.
They
They
don't.
don't. And I thinking about the destruction um, that they can cause is crazy. My mind, the first thing it does is go to children,
Right.
and
No, I get that. I
it's
get that.
crazy. It's
Well,
sad.
we're going to wrap things up, old soul. I know you got to get to bed. You've got other things to do. Things have settled down as far as your time availability. So hopefully we'll get you back on track to a regular schedule because I know people want to hear from you. Uh,
Yeah,
I brought up off the air that some people
I
said we
have to
should
say that
go ahead.
I, I have to say I told Karen that I would say this, but there's kind of like these like white women are wearing blue bracelets to
Right.
show that they stand in solidarity with Black women. And you can do that, but I don't think it, well, it's not that I don't think. Um, I don't know why you would put those bracelets on because we really don't want to see that.
Right.
It's because blue bracelets is not going to stop people from targeting the LGBTQ plus community, in particular trans. It's not going to stop these. They stopped saying mass deportations and now they're saying bloody mass deportations. It's not going to stop that. It's not going to stop, they are telling girls that you are going to have a white baby whether you want to or not. A
Right.
blue bracelet does not stop that. I don't know how we get back to working together again. I don't know how that works, but I do know that sooner or later we're going to have to,
Yeah.
because you can't have one group of women over here trying to do their own thing and another group of women over here trying to do that thing. Like we have to do it together. I get my butt kicked every time I mention that in my community. The first thing they say is like, hey, we just tried to work with them and they stabbed us in the back. That's not going to happen. But at the same time, if we don't work together, there's strength in numbers. So we have to at some point. I just don't know when that's going to be or how it's going to look. But people are not liking the blue bracelets. So
Right. And
I'll put them bracelets
I
down.
understand that a lot of people are frustrated. A lot of people are like you and me. If we can't count on the DOJ, Congress, media, the Democrats in general, you kind of feel like if I can't trust anybody, why should I bother? And I get that. At some point, things have to settle down. And ultimately, if we want to get anything accomplished, we are going to have to work together. I don't know what that looks like or how we accomplish that, but we know in our heads that that's what's going to happen. Right at this point, while the wound is still fresh, it's hard to imagine.
It is. I think that on my end, um, and I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, but the last woman that was on your show,
Yeah, Kristen.
when she's like talking to her and telling them the truth, letting them know what's misinformation, and trying to keep those conversations going. I will try to do that on my end. It's just not as easy with Black women. It's just not. I'm gonna keep trying on my end. I think that sooner or later we could come together. I don't know when, I don't know what it looked like, but blue bracelets isn't gonna make it help. But I think we'll get there. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, we got to let things settle down a little bit, see what happens on both ends with the Democrats and the Republicans. And all we can do is hope for
Yeah,
the best. We know
that,
what these people chose is going to go badly for them as well as other people. But, and there may be no way out other than to let them suffer, unfortunately.
I got a question. So, like everybody keeps saying that, just kind of like let people heal, like give it some time. Like it's kind of like an exposed nerve at this point.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's something like, okay, y'all need to stop crying now so we can keep going? Or like it's kind of like you forcing it so it wouldn't be the same as it was before. Like I don't know how long. Usually I would say, hey, take your time, grieve. If you're not there yet, we'll be still doing the work and we're here. Like come when you're ready. But I just don't think we have time for that. And I don't know when, like, I think right now it would be rude to tell people, like, hey, we got to move past this. But at what point is it acceptable to say that? You know what I mean?
Well, I don't, I'm a different kind of guy, and some people understand it, some people don't. On November 6th,
Yeah.
I said, cry a little bit, curl up in a corner, be sad. But by this afternoon, you better be ready to fight. You better be angry because we got no time to fucking waste. And I get a lot of people, oh, the world's going to end. Nothing matters. So I'm not going to do nothing. Well, get the fuck out of the way because somebody's got to fight for this and somebody's got to do something. And if you aren't willing to fight yet, I don't know what it's going to take. The crying and the worry and the concern. That's what I told them at this conference. You can cry and whine and grieve and all that stuff, but at some point, pretty quickly, you better get mad about this. And if you can't get mad about this, you maybe should sit this one out. This is going to be a fight. This is going to be a war, and you better be a fucking warrior. The crying and the grief is one thing. Give it a day, give it 2 days. I know that doesn't sound like much, but time is of the essence here. We can't afford to hold ourselves for a month and then say, okay, now I'm ready to fight. We got to be ready right fucking now.
I know somebody is watching this and I haven't been able to answer this question. Um, so I'm going to ask you, and
Oh,
then this
thanks.
person can hear your and this person can hear your advice. Like, what about the people that's not upset and crying? What about the people that's like legitimately angry and is saying, F it. I'm just gonna sit this one out and I'm cool over here. Or even not cool over there. Just I don't really believe in this anymore because I'm tired of being hurt and let down. So F it. Like, you build that wall up around yourself to protect yourself, right? Um, what do you say to those people? Because I have no idea how to make this person feel like this is something that you would want to participate in.
Well, let me ask you this. If you fall into a river, do you just say, well, I'm done. Fuck it. I'm going to quit swimming. Do you do that? No, everybody has a survival mode in their lives. And if you don't have that survival sense, then maybe you should set it out because we need people who are going to fight. But to me, somebody who says that says there's no hope. The end is near. And I don't believe in that at all. There's always hope. There's always an angle to dealing with something. And if you're ready to give up, don't think we're going to feel sorry if you succumb to this whole thing because you fucking gave up. If you have any sense and survival instincts, you will fight. You know, this is what people, that's what narcissists do. Because I know this from my dad. If I'll give you an example, this is
Mm-hmm.
what they say. If I said to my dad or somebody like him, I made a comment and he said, no, that's not true. And then I proved it wrong. What he would say was, all right, then I just won't do anything. I won't do anything for you. I won't do anything for this. We'll see how you go. Fuck it. We won't go and do anything because I'm wrong. That's what they're saying. That's what they're feeling. And for those people asking that question, I'm going to tell you straight up right now that's a fucked up
Yeah.
response. That's a weak, cowardly response. And if that's who you are, then be that. But if you want to do some good and you have a survival instinct, step up. So if you think that way, fuck you. I hope I didn't candy coat that too much.
I mean, I'm glad that you said it because that's not a way that I would have said it. But
No, I know.
and you know what? I'm pretty sure plenty of people needed to hear that because I am hearing a lot of, just kind of like F it. We tried, it didn't work. I'm good. And I hear that more than what I was hearing before. And I don't know if it's like anger, if people are just deflated, or I think there are people that's just trying to protect themselves from that disappointment.
Oh, I understand.
Because like when you jump in and you're trying to in the fight, then you open yourself up to this not going the way that you want it to. You open yourself up to being on the wrong end of a police baton when you're out there trying to protest or whatever. Like you open yourself up to that. So I'm assuming that somebody is trying to protect yourself, but then on the other hand, some people I legitimately know are like, I tried, F it. Like whatever happened in this country, it happens. Um,
Well,
and
here's the
I get that. So I guess maybe I can't tell them the way that you tell them,
well, they
but
can
I
listen to the
understand it.
show. Here's the thing. I've talked about this on the show before in other instances, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but the attitude is this: I did not get my way, so I'm just going to disassociate, pout, and say, fuck it, let the place burn. Okay? That's what they're
Mhm.
saying. But if you say that, you must not have any kids or grandkids. Because why have you decided to
Yeah.
stop fighting for your family? And if you stopped fighting for your family, I'm just going to say it. This is my opinion. If you just give up and don't fight for your family or your grandkids or whatever, you're a pussy ass bitch and get the fuck out of the way because we don't need you.
Or you can do what I do. Get the ones that you can protect away from the burning house, and then, you know, then you can maybe go a little bit more hardcore, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how to say forget it when
You
I know
can't.
what it's like to get, yeah, I know what it's like to get to this point. I know I told you that, I had an uncle that was lynched when my family was in Alabama, and that's how they fled to the West Coast after that. I have an uncle with a knot on his head from a bullet. I have another uncle who passed in a mental hospital because these white guys put some crazy stuff in his drink, and it just kind of, he just was gone after that. And you see the videos of the dogs and the fire hoses and all of that stuff, and it's kind of like, okay, yeah, we get here, we can vote, we can do anything we want to do, we pilots, we are presidents, it's like we get all of these opportunities. And I feel like if I don't do something, even the people I don't recognize, but just in my own family, it's kind of like, yeah, y'all kind of went through that for nothing. And I'm not willing to do that. And it's gonna suck
Well, if you're
watching, you know, try to tear it down.
if you're somebody who wants to give up, you probably don't want to listen to this show anymore. And I'm cool with it if you go away, because if you're willing to give up and not fight, you're of no use to me or anybody else. And I don't want to hear the fucking whining. You can cry and grieve at first, but now it's time to take a different look and see what we can do. These people are going to burn themselves down. There's no denying that. But as I've said before, and as you've said, our job right now is to protect our people that might be in danger, the marginalized, the LGBTQ, people of color, all the people that could be hurt by these people. I don't know what we can do, but we got to do something, and we've got to think quickly as to what we're going to do, and we need to do it. Pouting gets us fucking nowhere. When my kids pouted like that,
Yeah.
I tore into them pretty good. I said, you just going to be a fucking quitter? There's no life,
Mm.
there's no future for you if you're a quitter. You might as well just quit it altogether. And
Yeah.
I believe that quitters are a waste of space. I don't care if you're pouting. I'm sorry if that's too strong, but that's what I do here. I say the things people want to say but are afraid to say because I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You can't quit. You can never quit.
You know what? That reminds me of the best compliment I ever had. And it was recently.
Okay.
We were talking about our child and her going to Germany and all that stuff. And my daughter was sitting at the dining room table, and it was like his father, him, my daughter, myself, when we're just talking. And his dad said, have you guys ever thought like, hey, maybe you can go to Germany too? Like, we don't know what's gonna happen here. And my daughter looked at him, she was like, nah, you know who my mom is? And that was like the best compliment I ever got.
That's a great
So I'm
compliment.
like, okay. It's like she didn't even hesitate. She didn't even think about it. So it's pretty cool. She's a good kid, and she ain't nothing. So
Well, she's
you
kind of
know,
a badass in her own right. So having her as a backup's a plus. So all right, old soul, we're going to wrap things up. I want to thank you for coming by as you do. And I know people were anxious to hear from you, and they fucking heard
yeah,
from you. So we we will get together again soon within a week or so, and we'll talk some more about what's going on and kind of just watch what happens and react as best we can. That's all we can do at this point.
yeah, and help whoever we can. And even like when people feel like there's nothing they can do, it is small things that you do. If you know that people are going to be in some financial hurt, because we're already seeing employers preparing themselves for the tariffs. Like Nissan just like are going to lay off 9,000 people, and
Right.
this is happening everywhere. You can hear small business owners on television saying how this is going to affect them. If you got extra clothes, take them to a donation center. If you got a neighbor that's struggling and you cooking, just put a little extra food in the pot, take them a plate. It doesn't have to be big things. But as long as people know that they're not alone, people are looking out for them and they do care, those little things will make a difference. And so, you could do that too.
As I'm wrapping
You ain't
this
got to be out there.
as I'm wrapping this up, I have to say I had lunch with Garage Door Jeff and his wife. They both said, "What's up?" Kind of.
Yeah.
They didn't exactly say it like that, but they're fans of yours, and they're fans as everybody is. Well, Old Soul, you get some sleep. You've had a tough several months. You deserve some rest. We'll keep fighting the good fight, and that's all we can do. So thank you for coming by. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks. Bye, guys.
For those of you listening, thanks for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.